Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. In today's video I've got two stories for you and both of them have updates. Now let's get started with the first one. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole with an H and it's by user illprofessional503. Am I the a-hole for avoiding my childhood friend after she called me a beggar for living in my ex-husband's house? My 29 female ex-husband Carter, 27 male, and I got divorced almost 4 years ago. He divorced me. I was blindsided because I thought we had a very happy marriage. Unfortunately, this year I was in a hit and run and was hospitalized. My insurance didn't cover much and they never found out who did it. It drained my savings. I couldn't live in my apartment anymore since I could no longer physically walk up 5 flights of stairs. I had a job but was let go. I was struggling and it was a low point in my life. Carter and I hadn't kept in touch, but he contacted me and said that I could live in one of his spare rooms. I had no other options. I offered to pay him rent, but he refused. He has a maid for chores. I cook for him sometimes. It's okay. He's very chatty and bubbly, and if I close my eyes, I can pretend we're friends again. And we never took the leap into a relationship and a divorce. Now, my childhood friend Claire called me to express sympathies that I could find a place. I told her that I was living with Carter. She insisted on coming over as she also had been friends with him and had refused to take a side. When she arrived, Claire started to talk about how this was a bad situation. She asked me if I paid rent. I told her I did not. She said that his pity would end and asked if I wanted to be a beggar for the rest of my life. I told her I wasn't a beggar and she said she would tell our friends. I pleaded with her not to. Claire said that if I didn't think that what I was doing was wrong, I wouldn't have cared if she told everyone. I felt humiliated and ashamed. I have been avoiding her. She called me yesterday and said that I was being childish and emotionally manipulative for behaving that way. Am I the a-hole? Well, OP, in my opinion, no, you are not the a-hole. I'm not sure that living with your ex-husband is the best thing to do, thinking about emotional health. But it was apparently the only person that offered to help out. So yeah, you're not the a-hole. And to be honest, she doesn't sound like much of a friend to me. After everything you went through, like losing your job, losing your apartment, losing your savings because somebody crashed into you, which of course absolutely sucks, and all the physical pain that you went through, she calls you a beggar because somebody you used to have a relationship with offered to help you out and didn't want to get paid rent, which you did offer, by the way. And just to prove a point, she threatened to tell all your friends, which of course is not something that you want to go about advertising. It's a private thing, it's personal. I'd have to say that's manipulation, or at least that's some sort of emotional blackmail. If you don't do what I tell you to do, which is to leave this place of somebody that's helping you out, I'm gonna tell everybody you know? Go F yourself, Claire. OP, in my opinion, you have nothing to be ashamed about. So if she wants to go about advertising your business, the only one that's gonna look bad is her. She's gonna turn into a gossip and you can call her out for being a gossip. And what do you guys think about OP's situation? What is your judgment and what would you do if you were in her shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Realistic Head 4279 says, not the a-hole. Your friend Claire is a busybody and is sticking her nose into your business where she does not belong. Her words were cruel and judgmental and likely inaccurate. You need to limit your contact with her and not feel that you have to defend your choices to anyone except yourself. And OP responds, I'm not trying to be a beggar. I've offered to pay. I would even do chores and clean, but he has a housekeeping service. He eats takeout often, but he hasn't turned down any dishes I've offered him. That's the only way I can thank him. Crazy House 12 says, not the a-hole, she is. Who died and put her in charge? What you do is none of her business. And OP responds, Claire's always been very involved in what I do because she says I don't make the right decisions, like marrying Carter. She told me it wouldn't work out because he'd get bored of me and she wasn't wrong. She's held that as proof she knows better. Wow, Claire's just a straight up a-hole. Alaskan Puppy Mum says, not the a-hole. Block her and anyone who agrees with her. This is between you and Carter, no one else. Just do your best to get on your feet again. And OP responds, I will definitely do that. I've been saving every penny I can to move out. Additional information from OP's comments. I'm trying to pick myself back up. Claire sometimes doesn't understand that not everyone can do what she can do. She comes from money and married into wealth, so she doesn't understand that middle-class people like me can't afford $120,000 of medical debt without wiping out their savings. So yeah, she's privileged in many ways. Her family has always paid her rent and she has a trust fund that will run out 2 to 3 generations after her. But she's also very intelligent. I think it makes her believe that she will be successful regardless of what happened. Claire thinks that I'm taking advantage of him by not paying rent. I've tried, but he's refused. We've been having a lot of conversations about movies, philosophy, and science, and he has fallen asleep in the room I use or borrow from him. He says that if he uses the room too, then I'm not a renter and shouldn't be expected to pay. I've tried to tell Claire that I've tried to pay, but she insists that I shouldn't have accepted his offer if I was going to be greedy. She believes in everyone working hard for themselves and not asking for handouts, like from mommy and daddy. She said she could help me look for apartments or pass along my request for an apartment at ground level, but that's the extent of her help. Claire's always had a my way or the highway attitude. She knew that Carter and I wouldn't stay married, but I still feel that she could have supported me instead of being neutral. I definitely feel like I've been kicked in the gut emotionally. I don't think I'm a beggar, but I am embarrassed if she tells other people. Maybe she has a point. But I don't think she realizes that I had very limited options. I was sleeping on the floor of a former co-worker's house. Would she rather have me be homeless? I don't know, but I know she wouldn't think of me being homeless as a possibility. And no, she's not after Carter. She would never risk her marriage. She thinks Carter is handsome but flaky and not her type. She considers him a good friend because they run in the same social circles. I was friends with her first, but I can't fit in with wealthier people like them. However, I'd like to think that I'm also smart and life has dealt me a bad hand. I did the best I could. I lived frugally, saved money, and followed all the rules, and yet all my hard work was wiped out. He is very kind, and I feel guilty for my complicated feelings sometimes. He wants to chat a lot, and I feel obligated to spend time with him because he's doing this kindness. He has a lot of friends, but he seems lonely. He cries in his sleep sometimes, which he never used to do. He doesn't like to be alone. I have tried to show my appreciation for Carter and he's happy to hear it. He's told me that I can stay for as long as I'd like or forever, but I can't wait to save up and find an apartment I can live in. He is too close and too affectionate with me. There's a part of me that still loves him and he keeps poking those parts of my heart. So I wouldn't say I'm happy, I'm too heartbroken to say that, but I am safe and okay. I am working towards moving out. I thought I was healed emotionally, but it still hurts now. Well, the community of course agrees that OP is not the a-hole and this Claire person totally sucks. Considering apparently she knew Carter from before and OP thinks that Claire doesn't have a thing for Carter, I'm starting to think if Claire wasn't the one that was whispering in Carter's ear that he needed to divorce OP because of, you know, social circles or whatever. And I do understand the mindset of Claire, but not coming from someone who doesn't earn everything. I mean, she gets money from mommy and daddy and she married into wealth. What's the struggle there? I understand, you know, hard work. I love that thinking. But coming from somebody like Claire, it just sounds like hypocrisy to me. And I gotta say, it sounds to me like Carter wants to get back together with OP but just doesn't know how to say it. Anyways, let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. But before that, if you're enjoying this video so far, please go ahead and click that like button or dislike if you don't like the story. And also, if you have just a few seconds to write down a comment, an emoji helps like I've said before and I love getting those. You guys are really creative with that. And of course, if you'd like to subscribe, don't think about it twice and just click that button to see my videos on your home feed. Now, let's move on to that update. A couple of days after my post, Claire reached out and apologized for using harsh words. I accepted her apology, but things were still uncomfortable for me. She said she found an apartment I could live in. It was on the first floor and had access to public transportation. The rent was high, but not out of my budget. I would be living with 3 other people in the apartment. I checked it out and it was acceptable. I told Carter that Claire had found an apartment for me and he flipped out. He said I couldn't live there because it was a dangerous part of town. We discussed it and came to a compromise. He would feel better if we went to a hotel in the area for a few days and saw how dangerous it was. It was fine for the first few days, but one morning a man followed me. It was frightening. Carter said it was proof the area wasn't safe. I told them this was the only option I had for now unless I wanted to go back to my parents' house and find a new job there or sleep on friends' couches. My parents live in a developing country and I don't speak the language well, so that is my last resort. Carter reminded me that he said I could stay as long as I had liked. I told him I didn't want to be a burden on him anymore. It was very kind of him to offer, but I can't take advantage of his kindness indefinitely. He said Claire was putting thoughts in my head. I offered to pay him rent again and he finally agreed, but he deliberately wastes rent money on silly things to prove a point. I told him that, but he said if I didn't like it, I could stop paying or pay him another way. I dropped the conversation. Claire asked me why I hadn't moved into the apartment. I said I was paying rent to Carter and she chewed me out. Claire and Carter's social circles overlap, so Carter found out about how Claire was saying I chose to stay there even when she found me a new place to live. He got into an argument with me and said that I should stop talking to Claire. He made an ultimatum of him or Claire. I chose him. Since then, he's been very happy. I'm happy to see how cheerful he is, but I can't handle the constant hugs, snuggles, or pinching. It makes me feel bad and dredges up bad thoughts. I feel inadequate and crushed because he may be able to be platonic friends with me, but I still haven't gotten past the hurt. On a positive note, I started physical therapy and signed up for a free counseling program through my work. I have a tight budget, so I have to make do. Nicely done, OP. I gotta say, you guys all know that I do not like ultimatums, but I think this case is the one exception to the rule because Claire is a douche. And let's face it, there's not much of a choice. It's like the difference between a cupcake and a turd. And again, OP, I gotta say, I keep thinking that Claire was the one that caused your divorce and that Carter regrets it, and that's why he's so happy with having you in the house. He just doesn't know how to say it. Maybe that's just me living in Neverland, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Anyways, here's wishing you the best in the future, OP. Thank you so much for sharing and take care. And now let's move on to the next post that, like I said in the beginning, also has an update. This post is also from the subreddit Am I the A-hole with an H, and it's by user OKOpinion5333. Am I the a-hole for breaking up with my girlfriend because she's still friends with the guy she cheated with in her previous relationship? I, 26, and my ex-girlfriend, 25, were together for about a year. Some weeks ago, we were hanging out with some of her friends, not the friend in question. We were playing a little quiz game, and one of the questions that popped up involved cheating. I mentioned that I hate cheaters, and after that, I noticed that one of the friends gave my ex-girlfriend a look, and I also noticed my ex-girlfriend got a bit uncomfortable. It was weird and got me thinking. The next day, I asked my ex-girlfriend about it. She said that she wasn't going to lie and admitted that she cheated on her ex with a friend. This was a year before she met me. I felt upset about it because she'd never mentioned it before, and I asked her what had happened. She mentioned that one time she got drunk and hooked up with her friend. Let's call him Barnaby. Barnaby is a former friend with benefits of her, and they still hang out regularly. I knew that my ex-girlfriend and Barnaby had a history, and while I didn't like that they hung out, I just dealt with it. I was pretty upset because not only did I find out that she was a cheater, but she still hung out with the guy. I told her I needed some time to think, and after 2 days, I decided to break up with her. I didn't want to tell her that she couldn't be friends with Barnaby, and I knew I couldn't deal with her still being friends with him, so I just removed myself. So, am I the a-hole? Oh wow, OP, no, of course you're not the a-hole. I think you just made the most mature decision I've seen on a subreddit in a really long time. Instead of demanding that they not be friends again because you're trying to set up boundaries, you found out your girlfriend did something that you do not agree with, not with you, but with somebody else, and still hung out with that person, and you just decided, well, I don't have time for this drama. I'm moving on. And to that I say, well, good for you, OP. That is a mature decision to make. Maybe some other people would actually go the route of saying, I don't want you to be friends with Barnaby and, try to work on that and let's set up some boundaries here and there. But your boundary is just, did you cheat? Yes. Are you still friends with that cheater? Yes. Well, I'm out. And as I said, that is an absolutely valid boundary to set, and that's it. So, well, good for you, OP. Totally and absolutely not the a-hole. And what do you guys think? What is your judgment, or how would you have handled this situation? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see their judgment. Joshman1231 says, one good argument with you and another drunk night with Barnaby around sounds a little too close to home, don't you think? Not the a-hole, friends with benefits or a fair partner friend. You noticed the writing on the wall. You still kept them in relation without making her shut him off since they are friends. Then you cut her off for a really mature decision of not wanting to control who she can hang out with. You have a good set of morals on you and made a really informed decision. I'm confident you'll find someone who won't have this dynamic for you to come to terms with. Cautious Birthday 90 says, buddy, how can I put this? It's highly likely that nobody but you will ever really take charge of looking after your mental health. Some people will try to contribute, but in the grand scheme of things, their help will be insignificant. Others will help accidentally by being decent human beings, but really it's mostly all on you and always will be. I strongly suggest you do it. When you removed yourself, you were definitely doing it. Well done, not the a-hole. Lady Redson says, not the a-hole. Don't make someone a priority when they make you an option. In her case, omission of the truth is still a lie, and she lied to you every time she hung out with him. Did she tell you the truth ultimately? Sure, but the bottom line is that you don't believe you can trust her. That's a perfectly fine reason to walk. And what about the option thing I mentioned? If she truly loved and respected you, she'd have been honest from the start and prioritized you enough to give you the option to decide how to proceed. Best to you. Additional information from OP's comments. I'm not going to tell her who she can and can't be friends with. I don't want to be a controlling boyfriend. I don't think I had to give her a chance to cut off her friendship with Barnaby to see if she was cool with that. From my point of view, she already made the choice when she chose to hang out with him despite being with me. I didn't know all the facts, but she did. I don't want to be with someone who hangs out with someone they cheated with. Basically, if she can't tell me why this is such an issue without me having to point it out, we shouldn't be together. And for those of you trying to justify cheating with lines like, cheating has roots in not getting what you need from a partner and looking elsewhere. F off with that. If you're not getting what you need from a partner, then break up. If you use that to excuse any past cheating, then I hope your current partners never fail to provide what you need. And I bet the person you cheated with wouldn't mind though, specifically since you're still in touch. Alright, well, the community agrees that OP is not the a-hole for removing himself from this situation, and I gotta say, I really like OP's mindset. He's definitely ahead of the game and winning. Anyways, it's time to move on to the update to see how this story ends. Since so many people took interest last time, I figured I'd update you all. So, about a week after I posted my original post, my ex-girlfriend dropped by my place. She said that she wanted to get back together and that it was silly of us to break up over this. I told her that I was just not comfortable with her friendship with Barnaby. She said that her cheating with Barnaby was a mistake, but that was in the past and she's grown. I told her that it doesn't really look like it. She goes out drinking with Barnaby very often, and you two were effing after you and your ex broke up. They were friends with benefits before and after her ex. I told her I'm just not taking a chance to be her next sucker. Then she said, "What if I cut off Barnaby? Can we get back together then?" I was tempted for a second, to be honest. Our relationship seemed great, but I remembered some of the comments I read in my last post, and I asked her, "Have you been effing Barnaby since we broke up?" I had never seen such a poor poker face. She stumbled over her words and said, "No?" I gave her a look like, that's BS. She saw this and said, "I mean, We were broken up. I just put my hands up and said, nope. I then asked her to leave. She was really upset. And winning, like I said, OP, good for you. Man, you read that situation perfectly. It's a good thing you remembered those comments of the previous post. That came in handy. So there's just nothing more to say except here's wishing you the best in the future, OP. Hopefully you can keep that moral compass going straight and you meet a person that fits you. Take care and thank you for sharing. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.